Welcome to the Chateau de Mortiers in Normandy. My name is Helen. Since the day my parents saw this 17th century chateau was for sale in 1983 to today, with some big setbacks along the way, my family has been committed to restoring this house, which we see as not only a chateau, but at the same time a home and a true work of art. When they bought it, they had no idea how long it would take, but we have come to see it as the project of a lifetime. And there's never a dull moment. With the house, a separate pigeon tower and toilet building, 4 hectares of land including 2 ancient driveways, a front and a back garden, a large pond and some animals, our hands are always full. Join us on this adventure. Good morning! It's a beautiful, beautiful, cloudless blue sky day here in Moraville, and today I'm going to be telling you more about the house and a bit less about the animals and the garden. As beautiful as they are, I think there's enough to say about the house. Follow me. So this house is composed of an attic right at the top, a second floor, which was for the servants back in the day when there were servants, the first floor here, which is where the bedrooms are, the ground floor, where the huge sprawling entrance is, there's the sitting room here, kitchen there, and dining room on the right. So there are not that many rooms. In fact, there are exactly 4 bedrooms at present. Beneath all this, there's a very, very long cellar. It occupies the whole length of the house, and in fact there are 2 levels to the cellar. So they're vaulted cellars. It's there's 1 level, and then there are some rooms that are even deeper than the first level, as it were. I don't know if you get my meaning, but they're very beautiful cellars, and in fact they're going to be the object of a completely separate video, because there's a lot to say about them as well. We have graffiti down there, there's an old bread oven. It's lovely. It's almost my favorite part of the house. Now this house was built roughly around 1660. We don't have the exact date, but we do have an indication of who built it. It was a certain Pierre Piqueux, who built another house that's similar in style a few kilometers away from here, but much bigger. So we know that this house was meant to be much bigger originally, because the staircase occupies roughly 1/5 of the whole house. So it goes about from here to here. I'll show you a bit of the staircase later on. That's about 1/5. So who builds a staircase that big? It's really normally just to get from one level to the next, and in this case it was meant to be proportionate with the rest of the house. And we have 3 indications of that. I'll show you the detail. So the first indication is these bricks, which are not flush with the rest of the wall. Some of them stick out. 1 layout of 2 sticks out, which means that there was supposed to be a whole wing coming out here. And on the other side of the house, on the north side, it's the same. So the house was meant to be an H shape. So at the other end of the house, we don't have that, because, and you can see the wall has been redone with dark red bricks, not the same as this original type of brick. And it was simply redone because there was a fire in 49, I think. And so they had to redo the whole wall. And that's why we don't have these funny bricks sticking out. But there's no doubt that this end of the house would have been the same as the other end. So an H shape. The second indication that this house was meant to be much bigger is these doors. Now I'm in the east wing, and I've just reached the end of the house. This is a long perspective. See, goes all the way through here, and this is from one end of the house to the next. You have this perspective, and I'm not going to show you what's behind these doors, because we've just put lots of things behind the doors, because we're putting the floor down. But these doors are the same, and look, you open them and there's the wall, and it's the same on both wings of the house. So it's not just some practical joke on the part of the owner. This is the ugly wall I was talking about, which was made, rebuilt in 49, 50. So that's indication number 2. And just in case my point hadn't been made very clearly, the 2 doors here, and the same on the other side of the house, were meant to lead to a further piece of house. So we assume that the owner had a change of heart, or maybe he just ran out of money or was working on another project. But in any case, this is where the house stops. And the 3rd indication is the one mentioned previously. That's the staircase, the entrance. This is a monumental staircase. It's very, very beautiful. All old oak, the banister. It goes all the way up to the top. And we redid it not long ago. We just have to paint the walls now. Now I'm just showing you a quick detail of the pigeon tower, which is made in the same style, of course, because it's exactly the same period. And what's very charming about this style is these black burned bricks in croisillons, so little crisscrosses all the way around. It's very, very pretty, and it shines in the sunlight. In a pigeon tower this size, I don't know how many meters across it is, diameter, but it's got a gorgeous cornice. It's very lovely. And something this side would have housed about 2,500 couples, so 5,000 pigeons, about. It would have had room for them anyway, even if they didn't inhabit it in that number the whole time. Look how these shine in the non-existent sunlight today, because it's suddenly turned grey. NG, as my mother calls it. It's her shorthand for Norman Grey. But earlier on today it was actually quite sunny. It just goes to show how much of a microclimate we have here. And finally, there's one last document which I'm going to show you in a minute, which shows us just how big this domain was, and which is also a second, another indication of how much bigger this house was meant to be at the start. And here it is, the document which was sent to my parents a certain number of years ago, I don't know how long, by some lovely anonymous person from the archives of Rouen. So he must have found it, stumbled across it by chance and thought, this chateau still exists, I'll send it to the owners. We'd certainly never thought of looking in the archives of Rouen, because Rouen now is in Seine-Maritime and we are in Eure. But in 1767, geography probably looked a bit different. So here it says, there's a long, quite exhaustive description of what was around the house, and apart from the description of the house itself, it also numbers, very approximately, the dependencies, the outbuildings which belonged to the chateau. So here it says, maison de fermier, 2 pressoirs, 2 fours, so 2 ovens, 2 of these buildings to make apple juice, cider, all those. Grange pour la ferme. Anyway, I'm not going into all this detail. If you can read it, well done, because it's writing from 1767. But I think I counted about 11, 12 or 13 outbuildings. So 13 outbuildings for a house this size is kind of strange. It should really have been bigger. But anyway, I think I've said enough about how big the house should have been. What I find fascinating is that it actually had 75 acres of land around it. So this was not a house just for entertaining. This was actually a working farm, a high-class working farm, which is why it actually is a manor, not really a chateau, although chateau covers all sorts of buildings. This is actually a posh manor. The 18th century is also the time when all this wood paneling was installed inside the house, because before that it would have been just bare walls with tapestries covering them. So this is just before you arrive in the kitchen and in the dining room. And it's a little antechamber, and I'm just showing you this because this is the original colour, and it must have been painted this nondescript grey colour at some point. I think this is prettier, but we started taking off the paint, that was years ago. I think that was just after the fire, just to see what it looked like underneath. I think my parents had in mind to change the colour, or perhaps just leave it bare like this. I just love natural wood colour. And like many houses in a similar style, this one was modified. There was a certain number of modifications that took place about 100 years after it was originally built to show their wealth, and because they wanted to keep up with their times. So here the window used to come down to here, and it was made bigger because, as everyone knows, glass was very expensive, and that was to show their wealth.